What is up, folks? Chris Jardine here, aka Snaggle J, General Manager of your TGS Cincinnati Reds, back with another episode of the Big Red Machine. And, you know, this is going to be an interesting episode. Full disclosure, as I am recording this, I am 21 hours away from leaving on an 11-day vacation. Where, I'm going to have limited access to the game. Not no access, thankfully, because we're going to have to manage some things. But it has been a interesting season up until this point. As you can see from the screen here, we are 29 and 30. So one game under 500. We were over 500 until this sim. We had a 2-4 sim, which broke a streak of, I think, 4 or 5 consecutive 3-3 sims. And we are in a very interesting spot because, as you can see, the National League is an absolute blender. From 4th through, what would this be, 14th? There's only 6 game separation. And we're on May 31st, so we're 2 months into this season. And this is what a lot of the preseason predictors that some of the more, I don't want to say advanced users, but some of the Excel-savvy, prediction-savvy users put together said the NL would be an absolute bloodbath. And we're starting to see some separation here towards the top. The Rockies and the Pirates and the Monarchs have been just great. The Cubs are moving up and making moves. So, yeah, it's pretty much what you would expect here. We have kind of a lump in the middle, and we are firmly planted in that lump. And I'll be honest, this is where I really struggle with what to do. So, most of you have been following the journey of the team, and we're kind of, we have a very good core in place. We're kind of on the cusp of doing some really good stuff. And it's like, well, when do you push in? When do you, try to, make moves? And I think I've, based on the moves in the last 12 hours, I've really decided to lightly push in without too much of commitment. So let's go through and see kind of how the season has been. You can see we've been pretty balanced offensively and defensively, which is nice for us. Again, as you know, historically, we have been by far the worst runs against team in the league. Not close. We're 7th in runs scored. Now, keep in mind, right, we are one sim away from being done our 19-game road trip. We have been on the road for 2 sims. We have 1 full sim on the road where we go to Montreal, and then we go to Pittsburgh for 4. This is a huge series for us, by the way. This Pittsburgh series, we drop all 4 of these games, we might immediately flip into selling. But, we get these 6 games out of the way, and you look and you see, so far, we have had 22 home games and 37 road games. So that number will jump to 43. So we will be 22 games at home and 43 games on the road, which means we're going to have the inverse the rest of the way. So I said it in the Discord, and I've said it, a couple times, in various forums, is if we can get through this 19-game road trip and just be around 500, we got a chance. Almost 20-game lean to the home side from mid-June onward. Anything's possible. Anything is. Although I think if you look at it, I think we're actually under 500 at home, maybe. Yeah, we're 10 and 12 at home. So we're actually up +1 on the road. Whew. Anyway, so it's been an interesting season for the squad. And we're 7th in runs scored. We're 6th in batting average. Obviously, tied for 1st in home runs. We have a very power-invested team. So tied for 1st in home runs. We're 1st in base running, which is nice. We're not killing ourselves on the pass. This is where we've made the big improvements. Tied for 4th in runs against. Both of our ERAs in the top 10. In the top 10, we have more pitching WAR through May 31st than we had all of last season by like 3. Actually, we've already exceeded our hitting WAR from last season as well. So, we have, 16.4 WAR as a team. All good on that front. You look at, where the big improvements have been. Well, obviously on the pitching side, where we added $25 million worth of bullpen with Guardiola and Potasic. It's paid off. 2.4 wins above replacement combined. We got a 2.67 ERA and a 1.15 ERA. More realistically, you look at the FIPS. Guardiola's FIP is 1.55. Potasic's is 3.17. They're both striking out double digits per nine. The bullpen has been a huge improvement for us. Jonas Guzman has finally settled in and found himself a role. He has made one start, but as a long man out of the pen, 5-2, 11-4 shutdown to meltdown ratio, which is great. He's pitching to a 2.76 ERA. The FIP a little bit high, but it's 3.61, not too bad. So he's found a nice role back there. We've kind of been shuffling and moving pieces around in the middle of the bullpen, and we're going to talk about that in a minute when we start talking about the trades. Jacobson has bounced back nicely after an absolutely dreadful 2031. He's pitching to a 3.07 ERA so far. Almost at a win above replacement, almost at a K per inning, 1.19 WHIP. So he's been good. Knopp has been hot and cold. He's had some 5-inning couple hit zeros. There's 7 2/3, couple hits, no earned runs. And then he's had some 4 or 5 run games. So he will run hot and cold, which is not surprising given his profile. Newland Boyle has been eating innings and has only gotten killed a couple of times. You could see his last 4 starts, he has thrown, about 20 combined innings and has only allowed 3 earned runs, which is absolutely just phenomenal. Again, he's more of a, he's going to get absolutely just canned like this from time to time, being a movement control-based guy. Although the control has not been super duper at almost 4 walks per 9. But anyway. And then the back end of the rotation, we've kind of struggled. Obviously, Shabazz Green was hurt, came back for an inning and a third, then got hurt again. Ice, so we've been kind of juggling people down here on the bottom. We've had Zaccone in there. We've had Eisler in there. Guzman made a start. We had Johnny Boss in there. Allman made a couple starts. We've really been struggling with the back end of the rotation. Hopefully Green can come back and stay healthy. That would be just fantastic. And then we actually made a trade yesterday that we're going to talk about in a second. So while we're on the subject of pitchers, let's look at a couple of trades that we have made. And I don't know the best way to do this because they haven't gone through yet. So let's hope there's no hang-ups on that part. I can't even see pending trades, can I? Pending? There we go. So we've actually made a couple of trades at the New York teams. So yesterday we traded, and you know what? I could probably just do it from the discuss tab. So we acquired Brian Plum at full retention from the Yankees for Waldy, Cadillo, Vanderhorst, and Angulo. So here's the thing again. Keep in mind, this trade has not gone through. Anything is possible. There's always possibilities that, there could be hangups with the system or whatever, but it's in S+. It's agreed to. It's in the Discord, so I don't feel like I'm talking at a school here. So again, what Plum gives us, it gives us another legitimate guy to add to the rotation. I've really been trying to focus on acquiring high stuff guys to get increase our strikeout rate, keep the balls out of play when possible. Plum has not had great results, which I am trying to look past. If he could revert back to his 2031 a little bit, I would be perfectly fine with a mid-4-5. Again, this is trying to add some stability to the rotation. I feel like he fits in well with our team. Something that, we've been really taking advantage of this year is that we have, very good defensive efficiency. Something that we've really, really worked on, and we're actually trying to better that by moving some of the center field duties over to youngster Rafael Vezina. But hopefully the ground baller with the stuff, hopefully we get some good stuff out of Mr. Plum here. Again, this is a lot to give up, but, a lot of these guys we've replaced with people in the draft. Obviously, Vanderhorst is a very unique guy with the 75 infield range, 70 outfield range. Will his bat develop enough to be useful? That remains to be seen. Cadillo has third base potential, but again, he's 23 and almost a half, and he really needs to start making some advancements here. Tommy Walde, I loved Tommy Walde when I drafted him in the second round last year. I think he would have been a very Newland Boyle type-esque. I hope he goes to New York and just has an amazing career. I love what Tommy Walde gives. And Dave Angelo's just another potential third base guy. We've had him for a while, actually. We drafted him in the 6th a couple of years ago. He's put up some okay numbers. He's actually off to a pretty hot start this year with a 364 average across 44 ABs. Interesting to see if he kind of cracks the lineup in New York someday. The other trade we made was we acquired Dylan Burlingame at $1 million for Amaya and Arnudis Maya. Maya's the one guy that I hated to give up, and a lot of it has to do with he's 17. He's got really good corner outfield potential here. This is a bat I'd love to have in the lineup, especially as a left-handed hitter. He's got a little bit of speed, the 50 range, but you get into situations where you gotta give something to get something. I like Amaya as well. He was a international FA signing for us. He's got the 60 range. He's got the nice bat. Although he did recently lose 5 contact, I think. Maybe not. Maybe he never had it. Maybe I'm thinking of Maya and getting them confused. We get Burlingame, a former number one, or not number one. He was a former first-round draft pick, 21st overall by the Cubs back 9 years ago in game. Hey, threw a no-hitter here for the ACL Texas Rangers Blue. Listen, Burlingame is an interesting profile. If we ignore this 25 stuff potential, which I believe is just tied to this splitter, and I really am not banking on that coming in. That's not why I traded for him. A 50, 60, 70 guy in the bullpen as a lefty gives us options. You look at him versus, he's 50, 60, 70 both sides. Again, I'm not really pretending that this exists. I mean, if he all of a sudden he pops 25 stuff, God bless. But I like this profile. He's cheap. He's controllable for another couple years. Gives us another option in the bullpen that, what I've been trying to get away from in the bullpen is the low movement guys. We've made some additions, with guys who have good movement. I like what Burlingame brings to the table. I like some of the results I've seen. I mean, this season a couple of years ago with Tampa Bay is just electric. Even last year with Tampa Bay, a 229 opponent's average, a 104 whip. That's the kind of stuff that, if we can get him into those middle inning situations where we have kind of struggled with juggling, these 4 spots have been, they've been pitching good. But, we thought maybe Gale Babel was the answer. He's kind of gotten roughed up a little bit. Obviously, this 4-run game kind of blew it out of the water for him. But he's walked more guys than he's struck out. So maybe Babel's not the answer. So, again, essentially, we're just adding a couple of guys. Burlingame is controllable, which is nice. Yes, we gave up one of our better prospects in Arnudis Maya. But, ultimately, I don't feel like we subtracted a ton in order to get a couple of good arms, a starter and a reliever who both have, potential to improve our standing. I think that's the big thing, right? Is, obviously, yes, Plum is an expiring deal. Giving up 4 prospects for a guy that we're not going to have on our roster in 4 months in game, it seems like a lot, but that's the cost of doing business sometimes. There has been some huge movement out there in terms of teams adding players. Zach Flowers has been on the move. There's been some big deals. Fussell was on the move. So, we're trying to stock up. And obviously the wild card in this too is we do have James Gaspard, who's going to return in the summer. Who, was really starting to show some improvement in his ratings. getting to the point, he did drop a bit of stuff there. But that was, I think, because we moved him back to the starter. But his reliever ratings getting up to the 60, 50, 60. If he can come back, obviously that extra 5 potential has wilted away. But that gives us another legitimate righty as well. So looking forward to seeing what the staff's going to do. On the lineup side, I've said this before. We knew 2031 was an outlier for this lineup, that this lineup was way better than what they put out there. We just got, the dreaded dice rolls, that this game can put on a team. This lineup is better than what we did last year, and they're starting to show it. You look at some of these runs above average ratings. Krause is at a 12, Thompson's at a 9.4, Carlson's at an 8.1. Redford Jones is at a 7.7. He's only got 80 at bats. Lugo, who we called up, is at a 3.7. Figueroa, who was off to a dreadful start, is at a 2.5. Figueroa, who early in the season, he hit 214 in March, 245 in April. He's hitting 371 now in May. Grishaber has cooled off significantly. He was working through some day-to-day injuries. It's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of shake that off, or if we're going to have to start using McCafferty a bit more regularly. Fastnack, who's not really in the lineup for his batting, but you look, the improvement we get from him over Dainzer. Dainzer was the guy last year, hit 190, and his bat R was minus 35. We've got Fastnack, whose bat R is minus 10, so he's going to be probably on that same pace. But he's contributing a bit more. He's hitting 233. He's got a 588 OPS. He's got 7 doubles, couple triples, and his defense has not been dreadful. He's a plus ZR with the defensive profile that he has. And again, that's helpful because, when you look at how our team's been, yes, we're last in errors, but in the OOTP language, it's because we're getting to more balls because we have a very range-heavy team. So a lot of really good seasons. Thompson has cooled off as of late, but he is still on pace for 49 home runs. Again, if I got 50 home runs out of Thompson in his first full year, I would be ecstatic because we're still waiting for 5 contact and 5 home run power and 5 avoid Ks to come in. Nickerson has really turned it on as of late. He got off to a really bad start. He hit 200, 221, but now in May he hit 238. He's got 9 homers. His OPS up to 819. Again, he's going to strike out a ton because we're still waiting for this avoid Ks to come in, and we're running out of time here for Nickerson to dev that. But again, hitting in the middle of the order as a power guy. Where is he? He's right here. He has 16 homers, 36. 16 puts him in the top 10 in the National League. So he's doing what we need him to do. Yes, he's striking out at a 30% clip. My whole team is. Carlson has been very nice. This is not what we really expected out of him, an 850 OPS, which, again, a massive jump forward from last year. I don't think this is sustainable for him long-term. 11 homers. He's got 25 extra base hits total, 38 RBIs, which I think puts him second on the team. Yep, behind Thompson. So, again, the offense doing really well. And obviously, you got to acknowledge what Jaden Krause is doing so far, hitting 305. He's got 12 homers, 29 extra base hits total, 35 RBIs, 32 runs scored, doing a little bit of everything. Ultimately, what that comes down to is I feel like we're in a really good spot. Somebody asked me privately yesterday, after I made one of the 2 trades that I made, do I feel confident about reaching the playoffs? And the answer to that question is no. And that's not that I don't believe in the team, but, I still feel like the National League is an absolute battle right now. There are so many teams that are in the hunt that are very good quality teams. Obviously, the Cubs are always going to be there. The Phillies are always going to be there. The Diamondbacks have a really nice core. The Hammers are great. The Expos are on the come up. The Nationals are always in the hunt. The Marlins are always in the conversation. The Padres have some great pitching, and I'm sure they can get on a run here, win an 8 out of 10, and be right back up above 500 again. And that's not slighting the Mets, the Cardinals, the Giants, and the Dodgers, but the Mets are obviously selling off. They've gutted their roster the last couple of days. The Cardinals are still rebuilding, and they've got some really nice pieces, but Mushroom's got some ways to go with that team. And the Giants and Dodgers, they have a lot of really good pieces, but they've gotten off to some bad starts. But again, they're not that far out of it that they couldn't go on a little run and be right back in it. So it's hard for me to sit here and say, yes, I'm confident the team's going to make the playoffs. I am confident that we're going to be playing meaningful baseball in August and September. And that's all we can ask for, and hope that the dice rolls our way and that, we can be in there. Do I foresee making more moves? Possibly. But we do not have a whole ton of budget room. And, that is a problem. And we do not have a whole ton of high-impact prospects anymore that we can trade because the majority of them are on the roster. Our best quote-unquote prospects are guys like Thompson and Nickerson and Figueroa and Carlson who are on the roster as key contributors. And I told myself I do not want to add by subtracting from the big league club. If I felt that I could get an absolute dead set ace by trading one guy off the roster and I had an internal replacement, sure. But that's not really the reality that I'm living in. So we're trying to add without the subtraction, and we'll see where it goes. I did want to talk real quick about our draft. So as you know, the draft has occurred. It's in the game now. The obvious guy that we ended up with. So we knew, I told people there was 2 people on my list, Anzavino and Sharp. Whichever one didn't go 1 was going to go 2. Anzavino went 1. So we took Sharp at 2. Sharp has a potential to be an ace. He does have some checkered injury history. He does have, he's only 18, so he does have a way to go in a lot of these. He's got a lot of good potential. The stats are great. The big thing for Sharp is, I'm not necessarily worried he's not going to develop. I am completely worried he's not going to stay healthy, which I think is the gamble that you make every single time you take a starting pitcher in a draft. There's always a possibility he's going to get hurt. That's just life of a starting pitcher. I'd almost prefer he gets his big injury out of the way now. He's had a lot of small injuries that checker his profile a little bit. He's a big signing commitment for us. He's asking for significantly above slot. I'm confident that we're going to be able to meet his demand. But you know what? That's the big thing is just, when you have a guy with this kind of talent, I mean, someone like Voisin comes into mind, for example. It's going to come down to health. Will he develop and will he stay healthy is the big thing. I really like the Michael Betts signing in the second round. I love this profile for a third baseman. He could be a power hitting righty. Again, we're a righty, slightly righty favorable stadium. So this could be really good. He's got a little bit of flex to play some outfield as well. Obviously, the big thing where he is 19, so he's got some time. But that 20 contact, can we get that 20 contact in? Like if he devs to this, definitely has third baseman starting potential. I hate this Trent Hutchins pick. I panicked and picked him. I shouldn't have. It was late. I didn't want to hold up the draft. I mean, not that anything against Hutchins. He does have a little bit of flex. Again, he can't play. The infield range is useless because he's left-handed, so he can't play second. So he can only really play first or the outfield, which he does both pretty well. He actually probably could be a Gold Glove first baseman with 55 range, 50 air, and 55 arm. This is not. I mean, with this profile, I'd love to see a guy have 65, 70, 75 speed and be more of a leadoff type guy. He reminds me of Dex Pape, who we already have. So we'll see. But I made up for it with Blake Standridge around later. Standridge is a guy who, again, has corner outfield potential, could play a little bit of first base if we needed. I like this profile again. You know, the nice the 60-60 contact gap, 55 power. He's already there, which is nice. So I feel like, you know, Standridge most likely has a future as a 4A outfielder, but could get a little TCR love. He got the 65 contact. I think then he's starting to make a push for, you know, being a big time starting outfielder. Declan Huber might be the most interesting guy that I drafted because 45, 45, 60 potential on the pitcher side and 50, 45, 45, 45, 55 potential on the hitting side. He is right-handed, so second base is an option. Outfield is an option. And he can, so this, listen, obviously both sides of it, he needs some love. You know, neither of these are good enough for him to be a big leaguer, but the blueprint is there. He's got a lot of room to go with the fastball, a lot of room to go with the slider. You know, the 70 stamina I don't think is going to matter because I just don't think this is going to be a profile that's going to start. But he's going to be one of those guys. He's going to be fun to watch in the minors and just hope something big hits. The rest of my picks there's nothing super exciting. I like Gary Olson as kind of a power eye catcher with 60 ability. Hoping for some T series. He's only 18, so we'll see where that goes. Lane Gant, he actually this is, I believe, has him listed as a starter, but if I look at him in game, I think I have him turned into a reliever where he has 70 potential stuff, which is why I drafted him. We really put the focus on in the mid to late rounds of drafting some stuff-based guys. There's a guy with 60. There's a guy with 60, and just hopes that one of them can catch on. But other than that, not much sexy going on here in the draft. We got our big guy here. I really like Betts. I really like Standridge, and Huber's going to be a lot of fun. But other than that, a pretty run-of-the-mill draft for us. Anyway, that is going to do it for this episode of Big Red Machine. Obviously, there won't be any more episodes until I'm back from vacation, in which we will be in the thick of the dog days of summer. So no worries. I hope everybody has a great day and enjoys your spring, and may the sim gods bring you all the best dice rolls. And until next time, keep swinging for the fences.